Okay, I'm going to do this one a little bit different. Usually what I'll do is I'll do all my edge work and stuff, and one of the last things I'll do before the final finish is go ahead and do the stitching. But this time I was looking at the edge, and there's a little gap there. I don't know if you can see that. A slight gap, and I'm going to want to close that up before I do my edge work. Because if I do my edge work without closing that little gap first, it might leave like a small impression, and while nobody else on this planet will notice it, I will. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch it first. Yeah, I got my little clamp here. Got my 3/0 needles and my my braided thread. Put the thread through the eye of the needle and then pierce it. Now with braided thread, you don't need that long of a tail on it because it's braided and it holds together very well. With straight strand thread, a lot of times it'll want to pull out, so you got to put a longer tail on it. So go ahead and pop that through, and I'll do the same thing to the other side. Again, I eyeball the thread, so hopefully it'll work out, because I tell you, if it doesn't, I'll let y'all know. You know, I don't do things perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, and sometimes I abuse that privilege to take it and pop it over. And let's get to stitching. Now again, I'm going to start at this end and work toward me. Ooh. Here we go. Got my little craft, what does it say? Oh, it's a Craft Tool Pro. That's got to be a good one. But anyway, it's a nice little little awl. That is one stubborn hole. Here we go. Gotta be careful. Yeah, I'm going to go through and I'm going to waller out these holes a little bit to make stitching go a little bit easier, and I'll be back and we'll get started. Alright. Well, I got the holes wallered out, and when I say waller out the holes, I don't mean like take your awl and spin it around in circles or anything, but just take it and put it in the hole and just give it a little bit of a wiggle. You don't want the holes all stretched out, just open up a little bit to make the stitching go a little bit easier. Okay, I've got my thread through there and I've got it even up. And there we go. There's my first needle through. Now going through 4 layers of leather, it's going to be a little bit stiffer. The second one goes underneath, whether it wants to or not. Jeez. It's being stubborn today. It's like in the 90s today, and we don't have air conditioning, so let's see now, which way do I want to go? I want to go like that. Yeah, I'm going like that. Because I am going to cast over these. I want them good and strong. Yeah. Okay. And then we'll just continue on with the next stitch. I don't know if it's the heat that expanded this leather or what. Pretty sure stubborn. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me get some of the stitching done, because it looks like this is going to take a while, and then we'll come back again. We'll get a little bit closer to, to the other end. Okay, I'm getting close to the end. Now that I'm away from those 4 layers, let's go a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. Yeah, I know. I got to figure out a better way to clamp my leather. This isn't the best way to do it. But it's what I do. And you know what? It works for me. So, I guess that's what's really important. As long as it works for you, then basically, it's all right. Last hole here. And we'll go ahead and do our back stitch. Oh, I pierced it. There we go. And like I said, we'll do our back stitch, and we'll go ahead and lock it off. There you go. There's the stitch line. It's coming out pretty good. So let's see. We want this one to go underneath to follow the stitch that's in there previous to it. There we go. We'll push that on through. Grab our little smooth jaw pliers and yank it on out. So underneath, this next guy is going to go on top. Make sure my threads are good and snug. This guy's going to go on top now. Yep. And then underneath again. There we go. And on top. I'm just following the pattern of the thread that's already in there. Not completely necessary, but it looks a little better that way. And underneath again. Okay. And always check to make sure that's the way I want it before I finish pulling it on through. Now again, I started my stitches at the top here where the mouth is, because that's where most of the stress is going to be. I don't like doing my back stitch or locking it off at an area where there's going to be more stress. So I got my back stitches in. Make sure these are good and snug. take a look at the front, make sure it looks good, and it looks pretty darn good. And snip it off. So there's about that much left. I'm going to go ahead and burn them and tilt it away so I don't scorch the leather. Burn that one and burn that one, melt them down and mash them in. And there you go, there's your stitch line. Now next, we're going to get this thing to accept this here glue gun. And I'm going to wet it a little bit and mash it on in there. And that'll be it for a little while. Then we're going to have to sit and let this dry. While we're doing that, we're going to go ahead and get back to that knife sheath. So we'll be back. Okay. I wet this after all the stitching's all done. I went ahead and I wet it so I could form it a little. And take this guy, mash him on in there. And then what I did, because I didn't quite like the way it looked down there, is I took my mallet handle and I kind of opened it up a little bit. Try to get these wrinkles out of the top here. It's wrinkling a little bit right there, but that's okay. So there you go. That's the holster, and that's how it's going to look. Then this will go over like that. And after this is all finished, the last thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put those snaps in. And that'll be for the hold down strap on the back. So you've got the belt clip. So now we just need to let it sit and dry, which I'll do without the glue gun in it. So it can dry out on the inside as well. Now if you'll remember, oh, that's going to be nice. It just has a little bit of squeeze, you put it in, a little bit of a squeeze to get it all the way in. See, it wobbles a little bit, then once it's in, it's solid. That's what I want. I'll just let that sit and dry for a little while, and then we'll get back to that knife sheath that I hinted at the other day. That'll be a whole other series of videos by itself. So, let's get to it.